exactly what it was too. He's
Wow.
like faith of God into this dude that, you know,
Right.
he's like, yeah, sure, I don't care. Just park it somewhere and tell me where it's at.
That's awesome.
So they get inside and go. They have like a registration booth, and you had to kind of show your car to them um, to get your just to make sure you're who you are, and they don't just have some random car pulling in.
Hmm.
And then they get your all your paperwork and have you go make you get they made you a metal sign. It's like a I don't know 12 by 18 like stamped steel or stamped aluminum sign with your name on it and stuff. Just some little information about you, what the car is, and then what your judging class was.
Well, nobody can say that we're not dedicated to this, Adam, because last week we flat didn't record because you and I both were sick and tired of just talking about stories that we found on the internet and wanted to wait until we had stories of our
Yeah.
own. And on top of that, over the last weekend, while you went to Autorama, I decided it was a good idea for us not to talk to each other until right now, which I do not recommend. 0 out of 10. So you're going to listen to us tell our stories of the last 2 weeks, and we have not talked about this. So you're going to hear this not live, but recorded.
Yep.
So with that, welcome to the Automotive Misconduct podcast. I am one of your hosts,
And
Dustin.
I'm the other one. I'm Adam.
All right, Adam. Well, this past weekend, you took your car to Autorama, and I really haven't heard much anything.
Yeah, it was quite the adventure on all sides. Wednesday was my move-in day, and it was 3 p.m. So myself, Tony Campbell, and our friend Kyle Paducah, we go down, load the car up, and get it down there, and the line is miles long. And we pull in one line where it tells me to go because they kind of in the back of your Autorama stuff, they give you sheets saying, okay, go to this entrance if you're upstairs and the other entrance if you're downstairs. So I find out that I'm upstairs. So then we move into the line and we're sitting there for probably 15 minutes. And next thing you know, the guy's like, there's too many trailers up here. We need everybody to go down to the other entrance and wait. So I'm like,
Wonderful.
great. So we turn around and we head down on Fort Street and sit and sit and sit. And I mean, it's all you can see is trucks and trailers. Like literally, I
Yeah.
can't see Cobo Hall yet, but I can see trailers. I mean, at least 6, 7 blocks of what I could see of trailers.
Hmm.
And we're sitting there, and officer rolls up to the gentleman in front of us. He had a Fox body on his open trailer, and they talked about something. I wasn't sure at the time, but I remember seeing the car that was on that trailer, and one of the gentlemen that invited me, he made a
Hmm.
post about it. So I'm like, well, shoot, I'll run up to this dude and see, hey, like,
Right.
what are we gonna do? Like, we both have three.
What? Right. Whatever he said might be relevant to me if we're going to the same place.
Right. Well, it was. He asked him if he knew any if he could drive his car up there. If we could drive it,
Hmm.
and the guy's like, "What?" He was by himself, so he didn't have anybody any way to do it. And I'm like, "Well, I do because I've got 2 people in my truck,
Right.
so maybe one of my guys could drive your truck, and we can offload these things right here in the middle of Detroit and just drive them into drive
Right.
them into the arena." And
Nice.
so that's what we did. We literally whipped the trailers right around, did a U-turn, offloaded them right here on the side of Fort Street, and we drove past all these trucks and trailers sitting in line, and they're I
Nice.
mean,
So yeah.
got literally drove right to the gate. They waved us in. We drove up the ramp, drove right into the building.
Oh, that was a hot tip then from Mr.
Mr. Police.
Policeman
Yeah,
there.
it was. I tell you, it was surreal driving up that ramp.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, I mean, we've been to Autorama as kids, and even young adults, adult life. We've gone there hundreds of times. It seems like, but
Right.
nothing beat driving up that ramp, and you literally pulling into the complex and all the lights. And I mean, there's cars that are like it's hard to
Yeah.
explain. I mean, we all
Oh, there's $1 million cars there.
yes,
There's no other way of saying it.
yep. It was pretty impressive, like pulling into that building. And I said we went and I parked the car, and the other dude that was his car that he drove in as well. Kyle ended up taking his truck and trailer, and him and Tony kind of just drove around until they found a spot to offload this stuff. Like they,
Here you go, random guy I don't know.
yes,
Take my truck and trailer.
exactly what it was too. He's
Wow.
like faith of God into this dude that, you know,
Right.
he's like, yeah, sure, I don't care, just park it somewhere and tell me where it's at.
That's awesome.
So they get inside and go. They have like a registration booth, and you had to kind of show your car to them um, to get your just to make sure you're who you are, and they don't just have some random car pulling in.
Hmm.
And then they get your all your paperwork and have you go make you get they made you a metal sign. It's like a I don't know 12 by 18 like stamped steel or stamped aluminum sign with your name on it and stuff. Just some little information about you, what the car is, and then what your judging class was.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know something like that would,
Yeah,
be part of it.
yeah. It's I mean,
Yeah, get a little souvenir
oh
for
for
you.
sure.
Heck yeah.
They they put me in the side deal. They put me in domestic Ford bracket racer because
Okay.
the car had a parachute and a race seat. That was the reasoning. I'm like, oh,
Like,
whatever. I mean, I've
whatever.
got more
Yeah.
in my head.
I'm just
I'm like,
here.
I got more street miles than 90% of the cars in this facility. But whatever,
Right.
we'll go bracket racer.
Right.
And then
It's got a 5.3 in it.
yeah, I'm like, whatever. It's their rules. I
Yeah.
did not care about no class. I did not care about no
No.
nothing. Like once I got in that building, like you could
Right.
not pry the smile off my face for three
Oh no.
days.
That's yeah.
But they finally get me
100%.
to the spot, or they show me where to go. I go and offload or take the car into the where they had already started setting up where we were going to park because they had to be there early, and the guys did to set up the stanchions and all the because you have to bring your own mat to park on, so you're not like
Yeah.
just whatever you're in the carpet, and they just used like some rollout screen and taped it to the floor. But got all parked and then kind of had to go over to their booth where you get your credentials. Like it was $50 for the spot, but you got 2 free weekend passes, which is $50
Oh
each.
wow.
So I actually got paid $50 to go park my car
Right.
there.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm trying. That's why
Nice.
I tried looking at it.
Yeah.
That was about it. And then they tell you not to. I mean, it was my first time. I didn't know, but one of the rules was to keep your car at like eighth of a tank or less.
Hmm.
So this comes to play into the story later on. But so me being the smart guy that I am, I left my tank at a quarter tank, and it ended up biting me in the butt later on
Mm.
because I didn't know that you had to drive out of there, and it was like a 40-minute drive idling, and then
Oh
so well we'll get into that part later on,
yeah.
but that was when
All right. Free
yeah
preview.
that was like the Wednesday deal though, getting it all set up, and that was super cool, man. Like kind of walked around a little bit. There's a few cars already signing there. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Salinas' shop. Like he's got that green vet, Enrique Salinas.
Well, I can't say I
Yeah,
am.
he races at like Milan and Lapeer and stuff, but he's got I think it's a C7 vet body, but this car is it's green. I mean, it's a radial car, and like seeing my car, like he was kind of had his car parked next to my car. Like, I don't know, it was just cool as
Hmm.
heck to me to see some of these cars that I've
Right.
watched race for a while, and then here I am sitting next to it inside of Cobo Hall.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can see it. It's very cool to like, it makes you realize this is how far my car has come.
Yes.
And, yeah, you should have that much pride in that thing. So I'm glad you got to, do that.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. I didn't go Friday. I had to work. Haley had some school stuff going on, but
Yeah.
um, did the Saturday Sunday deal. Was there almost all day. Like it was 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
We got there about
That's a long day.
yeah. We got there at 8:15. We left around 8:30. Like it
Right.
was a solid day. And one of the guys, they told me like, hey, bring water because you're going to be parched with your amount of talking that you have to do. And I'm thinking,
Right.
yeah, okay, dude. Well, I was mistaken and they were right. Holy crap. The amount of questions and just attention that this car got caught me off guard.
Tried to tell
I
you,
know you
man.
did, and I know you're like, just wait, dude.
Tried to tell you, bro.
but
Yeah.
but it caught me off guard the amount of attention that this car got. It was surreal. Sitting back, like, even Haley, that one,
Hmm.
she also had a moment this like that Saturday morning where it was one of those like had to swallow super hard because I was about
Hmm.
to let it fly when my daughter and we're
Right.
walking to my car and first time she sees it and she's like, holy crap, Dad, that looks amazing. Like, I am so proud of
Yeah.
you. And I'm like, oh, yep, uh-huh, yeah, sure,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you sure are.
Right. Oh, it's gosh darn onions
Yeah, like
again.
who in the hell is somebody run methanol in here? What's going on?
Right.
Oh my goodness. But I mean, she hung out with her and Sarah, my wife, ended up hanging out with me all day there, and I'd go walking around, just kind of get a break from standing there, man. And Haley's like she'd
Right.
tell me, she's like, oh yeah, some kids are walking by and like they'd walk by and see the car and their face would light up like, holy crap, look at that thing. They didn't know it was a
Hmm.
turbo or what it was, but man, that stuff like that really is cool.
Right. It's, I've said it before, but we were those kids,
Yes, exactly.
and that's a big deal to me, and I know what it is to you.
Hmm.
the The only thing I can compare your experience to is when I was at college at Northwood. They have that outdoor auto show every
Oh
year,
yeah, yeah.
and just every year, like I was on the Jeep team a couple times
Hmm.
and whatnot, and it's just a long time to stand there and talk about. Uh, you know, I was doing it about some dealership's car,
Right.
but at least you were talking about yours.
Yeah.
But it's just a long time to stand there and talk to strangers about something.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, and I was, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
I was super busy on Saturday, especially.
Hmm.
And then I thought about going on Sunday. But again, comparing this to the Northwood show, like I know you'd been there since the day
Hmm.
before and Wednesday. And like by Sunday comes around, I like everybody's just, let's run the clock out and get the out of
Oh
here.
yes.
Like I like
That's,
most of them guys have been drunk
oh
since
yeah,
Thursday. Like everybody's worn out, like the
absolutely.
whole thing. Like the Northwood show, like kids stopped going to class
Hmm.
on like Tuesday, and and it like say by the time Sunday comes around, like I've been drunk for like 5 days. Like I'm done. So
Yeah.
that's part of the reason why I didn't go.
Yeah. And,
But let's
oh
continue.
yeah. Saturday they said they set a record for attendance on Saturday in the history of the Autorama
Mm,
show in both people attendance and in vehicle attendance. It was the biggest show they'd ever had.
wow.
Um, what did the lady
My
say?
timeline was full of stuff.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
like 700 and it it was over 700 cars they said, or 700 entrants in the show. I mean, biggest show they've ever had, and it showed, man, like from probably I'd say 11 a.m. on Saturday until 6:30, 7 o'clock. Like it was like
Oh yeah.
hard to move in there. And like the
Yeah.
my most asked question was, why is
Yeah.
your car in with Fox bodies? This isn't a Fox body. Like that was the
Right.
most, and I had to explain to them
Right.
like it's it's not a Fox body, but it's a Fox chassis. And then I had to
Right.
explain to them that
Yeah.
79 to '04 are interchangeable
Right.
parts. So that's why D invited me in. He was like, I want to get a little bit of diversity. Technically, it's still a Fox chassis, so we're gonna
Right.
play that card. But yeah, the attention.
Whatever
Yeah, I
works,
was like,
man. I got you in
that's what
there.
I said. I was like, I don't give a shit what you say, dude. You got me in the show. I don't care what you call my car. It can be what
Right.
you can paint it
Yeah.
whatever you want.
Right.
Oh man,
Hell
but it
yeah.
was super cool, man. Walking around, like I started walking through the rows and seeing what cars were in my class at this point, just to kind of look around and see. Just what my competition was. Not that I expected anything.
Why not? Why
Yeah,
not? Right? Like, what
I
the
got
hell?
12 hours to burn. Here we go. And
Yeah.
man, like the cars that were they considered bracket race cars. I mean, hands down, the first place car was also part of the group that I was with, the Detroit Fox Bodies.
Okay.
And this car was an 82 Fox body, but the paint was about a 15 out of 10. And the like he had mirrors set up around his car to where
Oh,
the
jeez.
underneath of this car was just as polished as the top side. The car was immaculate,
That,
like
yeah.
hands down the
That's
cleanest Fox body I'd ever seen.
wow.
So I mean, I knew I
Yeah.
kind of figured,
That's other level.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
symmetrics on like the fuel lines and brake lines running down. Like it was like, oh man, tighten the pants here.
Right. A
uh,
symmetrical fuel.
yeah, I mean, it was
Oh
just
my god.
this.
Like to that detail level.
Yeah,
That's yeah.
there was
Wow.
another car that was in a different group, but it had, I think it was like a 90. I'm not sure, I can't remember what year it was, but it was a hatchback. But the guy took um, like an SN95, it was out of like a 96 GT, and swapped
Mm.
the full interior into this car. And it literally looked like Ford put it there. Believe it or
Hmm.
not, the seats, the center console, the back seat, the dash,
Yeah.
everything looked like Ford set this stuff in that car. I mean, and
Wow.
it had carbon fiber splitter. Like this car was like a deep, deep red. It was, I mean, one of the more beautiful cars I've seen. So I mean, I was in like some serious company sitting in this booth, and
Oh
there was, I
yeah.
mean, all the cars there were just. They ended up winning. There was 12 cars that showed up. 5 of them won awards. Like,
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty sweet. And they we kind of just did a lot of walking on Saturday
Oh, I'm
because
sure.
you stand there for so long. You're like, I just need a break, and we would go walk around.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
other guys showed up Saturday, just kind of visited with them for a little bit. They all had their families with them or their kids, and kind of did their own thing.
Yeah.
Colin was there for a little while. Colin Welch, her friend, with his fiance, had her car there in the booth with us, which is
Yeah.
awesome.
They're the ones that referred
Got
you
me
to
in,
this guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was
So yeah, big thanks to them again for that.
absolutely like wouldn't even have had a chance to get in there if they didn't throw my name out there, which I'm
Right.
super thankful for.
Yeah. No, experience of a lifetime, it sounds like so far.
Yeah, no, it was seeing the car under those lights, man. I cannot thank you and Justin enough for coming over that day.
Oh.
Dude, like,
Mm.
holy crap. I mean, it looked good in the garage. I ain't gonna lie. Like, I was just like, holy crap,
Right.
this looks great. I didn't notice it until I pulled it outside to load it in the trailer. When it finally started to hit, I'm like, holy crap. Like, this thing turned out
Yeah.
good. And then when I got it under those
Yeah.
LEDs at Kobo, man,
I'm sure, bro. Like and you know, cell phone pictures like
Right.
kill the quality.
Yeah.
And I mean, even on the pictures you sent, it looked
Yeah.
amazing. So in person, I'm sure it was that much better.
Yeah. A lot of compliments on it. Like, cannot stress that
Hmm.
enough. Like, Justin,
Yeah.
he did great with that. Something that we were both kind of like on
Right.
the fence about. Man, I'm not really too comfortable doing this,
Right.
and he comes in and just knocks it out of the
Yeah.
park. So I can't thank him enough for it for sure. You and I
Yeah.
mean, we had the Wings game. He had the buffer. We were
Right.
all good.
Right. Yeah. I was watching Jake Wallman do the gritty.
Yeah, uh, man, it's good stuff though.
Yeah.
Then I had to drive all the way home, drop my kid off. She didn't want to go back Sunday. She's like, I did my tour. I got school stuff to do on Sunday
Right.
too. She's in drama club, so they've been doing
Yeah.
their thing. So she had to help set that up on Sunday. So Sarah and I went back down and finished
Hmm.
that out. But back to the low fuel situation. When I found out
Yeah.
that it was going to be nice out and how much of a headache it was to load up the car to get out of there, everybody suggested that I just drive it out. So I was like, okay, that'll be fine. But I've only got an eighth of a tank of fuel, and trying to find E85 in middle of Detroit at 9 o'clock on a Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
probably not the thing I want to be driving around trying to find.
I mean, if we did it all over again, you'd have some gas cans full of E85, right?
Right.
But
Well, if I did it again, they didn't check nothing. Next time, I'm just leaving the tank where it's at. Like
right.
I told my wife, dude, I spent so much money on food there. Like next year, it's getting a cooler, it's getting a full tank of fuel, loaded with whatever the hell you trying to eat and drink for the day. Because man,
Right.
$4 water,
Yeah.
$15 beers, like oh, it was expensive.
Yeah.
But that's
Oh, I'm sure.
but it was. I had never done it before, so I didn't know the damn rules. I mean, they say no fuel in the car, so that's how I brought it. No, I
Right.
didn't want to like show up and they're like, "Oh no, you've got too much fuel. You got to go."
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So luckily I ended up taking a 5 gallon jug of fuel down and put it in Colin's vehicle, and then we kind of just rode down with him because I left my truck and trailer at his house.
Hmm.
Made the decision to drive from Cobo to his house in Waterford, which is about 45 minutes away. Um, First time I've had the car on the expressway. That was what I was worried about.
Right.
So, especially down there.
How'd that go with the no overdrive and whatnot?
Well, turns out running out of fuel was the least of my issues. So, I wish that's all I worried about before I loaded the car. I decided to put a new thermostat in it because I was having overheat, or I had a drilled 165 thermostat in it to where because I was having
Mm.
overheating issues. Well, that went away, and then I couldn't get it up to temp. Like it would driving around 120, 130 and cool days. So I was like, I'm just going to put this regular 165 back in it and see how it does.
Right.
I vacuumed it down, filled it with coolant. I let it run in the garage for about 15 minutes and it seemed to be okay. Well, I was mistaken because I go to get in this freaking drive out line and I'm watching
Oh,
180, 190, 200, 220, 230, 240, 258 degrees. This old girl scene.
all right. Yeah, that's concerning.
So here I'm like freaking, and you can't do anything. There is all the cars funneling into this lane to drive out of the arena, and I'm in the middle of it. If I stop, I literally
Hmm.
halt the entire parade out of here, and there's nowhere. I
Yeah.
mean, it's lined with booths. Like I can't go. I'm stuck. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, you can't pull to the side, nothing.
No, it is. You drive out of there, and then that's that. I finally get out of the arena and pull over as soon as I could and shut it off. Well, I called Colin, told him like, "Hey, I ain't gonna make it to where you're at with the fuel, so you need to come to me because I got a slight issue." So I turned the car off, but then just turned it back on, just the fan, let the fan run for a couple minutes until he got there, and then I rolled it over to circulate the coolant back through and get turned it off, turned the fan back on type thing, and it dropped immediately. Like it went from like 258 down to 180s within 4 or 5 minutes. So
That's
it tells
great.
me there was an air pocket. It's kind of
Yeah.
what I was thinking, because once it cooled down, we filled the car with fuel, and I hopped on the old Lodge there, M10, and Colin, like, we got fuel in the car, and hopped on the highway there, and car did great after that, like 168, 170 the entire trip, flawless.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not 1 ounce of issues once I got on the highway, and we got to
Right.
Collins, loaded up, headed home.
Okay.
That was about the.
Hopefully that's all it was, just an air pocket, and away you go.
They had a ballroom there at the Kobo for the award ceremony, and the amount of awards they give away at this place is crazy. Obviously, the most coveted is the Riddler Award, like the
Yeah.
Great Eight Best of Show, which Dave Kindig won, and the team that he has there, handcrafted.
A 53 Corvette.
Well, that's what it was
Okay.
modeled after, but he
Okay.
said that the car was literally a stack of 4x8 sheets of aluminum, and there was a
Wow.
pamphlet, like a booklet he had on the floor you could thumb through, by the car, and sure enough, every part on that vehicle was hand rolled: fenders, hood, doors, nothing. The only parts that were cast or manufactured was the, obviously, engine block, transmission, rear end, stuff like that. But
Right.
the only thing in the interior that was not handmade was the ECU, like dash, steering wheel,
Good Lord.
seats. Like this car, it was a 4.5 year build,
Wow.
and the
That's insane.
yeah, although that car was great, it really wasn't my favorite that was there. I think it was called the Challenger 1000X was the build, but I
Okay.
can't remember what year it was, but it had the Elephant setup in it, full
Yeah.
pro touring deal. Like this car to me was probably my favorite car there, but no, I mean
Well,
nothing.
I'll have to look that up, I
Yeah,
guess.
I
Yeah.
mean nothing against Kindig's build, because that thing obviously is.
Oh,
I mean, it's a
sure.
crazy, like, billet everything, but we sit in that. They had us into that ballroom. Was it 3 o'clock till about 6? Sitting there, like, holy crap! It was huge, but
Yeah.
it was fun, man. Like the whole, like, experience in itself. Just even
Yeah.
with like the issues I had leaving, I don't know. That doesn't shake a stick at what I just went through this weekend. I mean,
Right.
it's so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
coolest thing I've experienced with the car. I mean, outside of having my best friends at the racetrack that day for my first pass, but this
Right.
is a close second.
Oh, yeah. Who could blame you?
Yep.
Well, that's say really cool. Like, I guess the comment I have on like the Kindig build, like it like that reminds me of like Jesse
Mm-hmm.
James, like when he was building his motorcycles and stuff. Like you get to the point where it's like, geez, do you want us to go out and mine our own iron ore to like build this car?
Right.
Like you just like building it is the hardest way possible. I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah. Just nuts, the amount of effort and time that went into something like that. I couldn't even fathom that.
Right. It's crazy.
Yep. That was about the extent of my, done took up half of a block of episode here just talking about my Autorama endeavors, but
It's all good, man. It just like, I'm glad you got to go, you know, be a part of that, I
yeah,
guess.
for sure, absolutely. I appreciate everything. You know, so
Yeah.
it was definitely a cool experience.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe next year, right?
Yeah.
So the 2 weeks that we were off, 2 weekends ago, you and I went to my father's old shop that, say, unfortunately, I'll say I now own,
Mm-hmm.
and we went through all of the stuff there, and I'm gonna have a sale at the end of the month through an auction company, which is what it
Mm-hmm.
is. But more relevant to what we're doing here, my Malibu is there, and you and I kind of went through it and took some decent pictures of it and got it listed on Marketplace and did our market research on what it's really worth and what I could ask for it, and kind of just decided between the two of us like what I should take
Oh
for it,
yeah, for
right?
sure.
Just so got that up listed on Marketplace, and so you and I took off and went to lunch, and my phone just dinging over and over and over again
Right.
like
Yeah.
crazy. If anybody's ever listed anything
Oh,
on Marketplace, and before we even left Buffalo Wild Wings and went our separate ways, I had an appointment to show it to a
yep.
guy, and he didn't show. Surprise,
Yeah.
surprise. Like how do you make an appointment for the same
Oh,
day, like an hour later, and then be like, nah, bro, I ain't coming?
I hate Marketplace.
Like it's yeah, awful. I don't know how else
Yeah,
to
there's
say
no
it.
other way to describe it.
Um, right, yeah, without going on cussing tirade. Got past that, went through that next week, started talking a little more seriously with a few people, and even showed the car to a listener of the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and came to an agreement with him. And a couple days late, I was supposed to, this last Saturday, supposed to sell it to
Mm-hmm.
him. He was supposed to get a hold of me Friday night, and Friday night came and went, and I didn't hear anything from him. So Saturday morning, I go to my son's basketball tournament, and about 10 a.m., I'm like, all right, like as a seller, you don't want to come off as like desperate
Right.
or like, oh, they're still coming,
Mm-hmm.
or because it's like if I don't make this deal, like there's gonna be another one.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I ain't worried.
Mm-hmm.
So if finally he messages me back, and oh, I had COVID. Like, all right, well, I'm gonna move on. And in that, between Wednesday and
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, another guy messaged me and said, hey, I see this car's in pending status. If something happens, let me know. Like, all right, well, I'll know more on
Yeah.
Saturday. So message that guy, and he comes out later that afternoon, and he was coming from hour and a half away, Cass City,
Okay.
actually. And I get headed to the shop, and I've got the title, and it's in the center console, and I'm like, I should really look at this title just for giggles. And title's still in last dude's name. Like my name's on it.
Wow.
So like as a purchaser, I was like, oh shit.
You never went to the Secretary of State?
No. Like, oh whoops. So I call the guy. Well, I message, hey, call me. Here's my number, because we're talking through
Mm-hmm.
Messenger. And he called me, and I'm like, all right, dude, look, before you leave, because like he was digging out his trailer and his truck,
Mm-hmm.
and like he had whatever cash he was willing to pay
Yep.
for it with him, and I'm like, look, dude, like I got a small problem with the title. Like it's nothing I can't fix, but it ain't legal beagle right now. And explain the situation to him, and he's like, okay, well, thank you for getting a hold of me before I
Yeah.
left, at least, and not make me drive all the way there. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
but he's, let me call you back. And I had a bunch of stuff in the truck that um I had to drop off at the shop
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So like, I'm just gonna keep
Yeah.
going, and I'll let you know when I'm there. Blah blah blah. So long story short, he ends up coming, and he checks. He's an older guy, like we'll call them like an older Gen X.
Yeah.
Like not quite our parents'
Yep.
age, but
Older than us.
somewhere in the middle. Yeah. And he's got his, I think it's brother-in-law with him, and they start checking the car over. And these guys are old school, and they are checking panel gaps and checking the body work with a flashlight. And apparently there's some body work on the quarter panel, like underneath the B pillar,
Okay.
that you and I have never
No, I had
like
no idea.
looked at or called out or anything. And like they're looking at like G body specific stuff. Like they like, oh, it goes bad here, here, and here. And the guy's like, this car is better than 90% of cars I look at. Like this thing is actually really nice.
That's good.
So I'm like,
Sweet.
yeah,
So the cash.
yeah, right, yeah. And so he's like, all right, well, you get down to brass tacks, right? Like you get the breeze, you exchange pleasantries, blah blah blah. And he's like, all right, like, what's it take to buy this thing? And I told him what I had it sold for previously, and I was like, I'll fix the title, I'll sell it to you for the same price as the last guy. Like I gave him a little bit off the price to make him feel good and go home and talk to mama and tell him he's a good negotiator and all that stuff.
Yep.
And I'm still getting what I really wanted out of it, right? And you got to build in the low ball. And he's okay. So he's got an agreement to buy the car. So I'm assuming this weekend, if I'm going to Secretary of State tomorrow and trying to get that all cleared up, as long as, and I think you pay like $20 or $25 and get a title like instantly.
Yeah, there'll be a small late fee on it for the fact that you didn't go for the best.
Yeah.
Slipped my mind.
3 years.
I had COVID fog, dude. I don't know what you want me to do about it.
I had long COVID.
I had a long drawn out COVID.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, good deal.
So yeah, I'll have to pay the theft.
Yep.
And get that over with. And so get the new title and talk to him about the Turbo 400 transmission. And I was like, I don't know what's in it, man. Like I know it's got a brake. I know that the car ran and drove and shifted just fine. But as far as what's in it, like
no idea.
Yeah. And I was like, so I can, sell it to you based on what I think it is. And, you can take a little bit of a chance on it and still get, the long story short, he's going to buy the trans also with the converter.
Nice.
So and all I will have left at that point is the 5.3 and the Holly Terminator.
Yep.
So I'll get that listed, but I think that'll be after that car's gone.
Yeah, I think we need to make sure that goes well.
Right, yeah. And you just only have so much capacity, right, to deal with that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much my Saturday this past weekend. And then I guess those of you that haven't figured it out, like for me, this podcast is mostly me documenting me figuring out what the heck I'm going to do with my life after my father died. And I have all this stuff and how I'm going to like restart my car interest or whatever. So, I have an 08 Avenger that's got well over 200,000 miles on it. And it's just a run and drive car. That's all it is. That's all you can say about it. It runs and drives. So I worked on that a little bit on Sunday. Got that up and running, whatnot. So I'm gonna take care of that, punt that down the road, and then the other was my father's truck.
Yeah,
and it was his work truck. So this thing's beat. He squeezed every ounce of life out of this sucker.
Yeah.
And it's literally a sat since I brought it home like the end of April last year. And I was able to get that up and running again. That was actually a little bit of a challenge. But she fired up and it's smoking more than I remember it before. And, you know, I found out like backing into the driveway that the transmission's slipping, like when I brought it home. And I was actually out there last night and like the truck had ran for a while and whatnot. And I go back out there to look for something in the cab. You open the door and it's clicking, like click, 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 click. And there's no key in the ignition, nothing. Like this thing is just doing what it wants. And it was like, okay, I hear you, truck. Just let me die.
Yes, it's absolutely.
Like, I hear you loud and clear, bud.
Yeah.
Like, you know, over the last like year or so, I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, and like, I know nobody gives a damn about it. It's just an old Dodge, and you know, like the only reason I give a damn about it is it was Dad's truck.
Yep.
Like, I get that, but just going through it again and like say it's smoking now. Like I know the trans is cooked. I had warped rotors when I drove it home.
It's clicking.
And saying it's just randomly clicking under the dash.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, just let this poor thing die. So I need to find a way to just scrap that poor thing.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest. Like I'll feel better about it when it's gone.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
You know, as they're loading it up on the tow truck or whatever, I'm gonna be a little upset, but
yeah,
just let it go, Dust.
Yep, that's what Dad would say
like,
too. Just let it go, man.
Yeah, just let it go. So, so yeah, that's what I was doing on Sunday is basically clearing room in the driveway.
Yep.
You know, and or at least preparing to. And say we got the auction at the end of the month to clear all the stuff out of the shop. And after that, is it made of metal or no?
Right.
Is basically like the stuff in the shop, because if it's not, then it's trash, and then the rest will just scrap. Right. And then say move on to selling the shop. And say if you haven't figured it out yet, like what I'm gonna do after all this is pretty much what this podcast is about.
Yep.
For me. So, you know, where we go from here, like when I first asked you about this, you know, like okay, like we don't know where this is gonna go, who we're gonna meet, like, you know, the idea was maybe we start a business and this supports that somehow, or this makes us meet somebody or whatever, runs us into an opportunity to do that. So I don't know, we'll see how that part goes. But so that's why I told you before I forgoed my show up points, because I figured that this is, I guess my efforts were going to help you too.
Right.
So
I say.
But yeah.
You keep talking about the shop and your dad, and I had the pleasure of knowing that dude pretty much my whole life too. And as we were going through that shop, like the stuff we found for like, okay, man, come on, Lynn, you didn't buy this, buddy. Like this ain't something you just go to the store and buy. Where did you get these construction signs at, dude? And cones for days. Like, how many cones does this one man need?
I don't know. Just like, I don't know how he got it. I just know he didn't pay for it.
Oh my God. We were walking around finding some funny shit, man. Like, We
Right.
needed that for sure during that time.
Yeah.
Like seeing pulling out men working signs and construction ahead signs and 40 stacks of cones up in the rafters. Like, holy crap,
Right.
dude. Knowing damn good
I
well he didn't buy
he
a
was
single one of those.
no. He was the kind of guy like he would like pull up on a scene or whatever an area
Mhm.
and there was stuff laying there and it was like this is nobody's
Yeah,
stuff.
this is now Lynn Hemmerline
All
stuff.
right, well it's my stuff. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And
I
just
had to throw that in there. That was
yeah.
so funny that day, man.
Yeah.
Like, and neither one of us were
Yeah, I got that one.
surprised at all. Like,
No.
oh, big
No.
shocker there.
Right.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that was good.
And we got to go through all of his custom tools and stuff. That was kind of cool to
Yeah,
go through that again. Yeah.
yes, sir. That stuff always
Uh,
intrigues me. Why a mechanic has, I
right.
mean,
Like,
the custom stuff. Like, what did you need to? Why did you bend this wrench in this? Like, what were you trying to work on? Like,
right.
what was your ultimate achievement here? Like, what were you trying to get? Uh,
Why is this 7/8 in the shape of a Z?
right. Oh my god,
Oh
that
God.
was good.
Yeah. Yep. So, like I said, I guess it's my turn on the old entrepreneur
Yep,
legacy or whatever. So
yep.
we'll see where that goes.
I agree.
Oh, well, I know this is going to end up being a long one. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching and sticking
Yes.
around. Good Lord.
Uh,
What are you doing with your
well,
life?
hey, I mean, it's
Uh,
2 weeks worth. We didn't do one last week because we agreed. Like, we
no,
need to start putting out
right,
quality over quantity. So if it
right,
goes a little longer, we both talked about that. Like, hey, we want to give you guys the best episodes we can give you. The real Dustin and
right.
Adam. Like, this is us,
Yep.
two dudes
Yeah.
hanging out, bullshitting
Right.
with each other, looking at a computer.
Right. Right. Yeah. Two friends, say friends since third grade for Christ's sake.
Right.
Um, but yeah, no, if you like the episode, please like it. If you didn't like it, tell us why in the comments. Saying, "Good Lord, why are you still here?" Uh, say thanks for coming. Adam and I really haven't talked about this. I don't know if we'll continue to try to do weekly or if we're just gonna take it as it comes and do one when we have the material. I feel like maybe that might be the move going forward.
And it'll pick up. I
But
mean, we're in the luckily I see the light at the end of the tunnel for race season. So, and as
yeah,
race season comes, we'll have more content to talk about. We just want to keep it interesting, and we want to keep you guys entertained. Like that's our
yeah,
goal for this thing. We
right,
want to keep the views coming, keep the guy, keep you people interested in us.
right. Well, and then say not just looking at car and driver and talking about electric vehicles.
Holy, although that was one of our most like traction
Yes,
episodes for some reason.
yeah.
I don't know. Oh man.
Because I had AI write the episode description.
Yeah. Oh man. Good deal. Yeah. We
Yeah.
appreciate you guys very much.
All right. We'll see you next
We'll see
time.
ya.